Brotherman was a revolutionary comic for me.
And he was fine. I mean, let's just be real. Brother Man was fine. And I liked how he was like, yeah, I'm fine.
Brother Man, I want to say at the time, was the best done of those series of books. Dynamic, great art, great stories.
With Brotherman, I mean, that stuff it's just, it'll stand the test of time as just being plain awesome.
Brotherman comic, to this day, is, I think, the best comic out there, really. I'm talking about with a black superhero in it, that pretty much is, it's comics, but it's also culture. It's also hip hop, it's also humor.
When I first saw Brother Man, it was like lightning struck.
Without a doubt, I think Brother Man was probably the best comic book I'd ever read. I absolutely love Brother Man.
Well, Brotherman for me is kind of like, in a way, it's what brought me back to black superheroes.
Fair enough. We're talking about the early 1990s, and the industry had changed dramatically before that point in time. Although you do have some examples from the mid 80s to late 80s of people who were creating their own books, distributing their own books, and selling their own books. If you wanted to put a comic book out, you had to go to the major companies, and there really were only two. There was Marvel and there was DC. There was obviously Harvey, and Dell was still putting out some books back and forth. But really, if you wanted your book done, you had to go through them. But when the personal computer technology took over and individual software programs became more available to the general public, people realized, you know what, I don't need you, I can create my own book. Distribution has always been a problem for people. This was obviously before the internet. So Brother Man kind of breaks in with, you have some brothers selling comic books. What? It has black characters. What? It's funny, and they kind of just took the industry by storm. There were people who were willing to support them.
They kind of found their own niche, and they are a good example and a good role model for the people that you spoke of earlier, independent comic people. What should they do? These guys did not get themselves pigeonholed into the standard thing of what a comic guy does. They went and found a market of their own, which at that time, the Black Expos were just a great thing for black product. I mean, if you couldn't sell a black product at the Black Expo, you got a problem. I mean, and I'm not saying that's the only reason they sold. I'm just saying that when you walk into a market, it's like a captured market, that already wants what you got, demands what you got, really waiting. They're so surprised to see somebody's probably got what they want. The Black Expo, when we did the Black Expo was like walking into, it's 120 degrees outside and you're the only one selling bottled water with ice cold ice cubes in it. It's like people were so excited to see black product. They would come over there and, ultimately your product does have to stand for itself, which the Brother Man guys did, which Tribe did, which Milestone did. But you have to find new avenues to sell your books.
And so then I kind of lost interest in black superheroes for a bit. And then it was kind of like, you end up in a black bookstore. And I'm looking for something on the Panthers or the Republic of New Africa or Malcolm or something. And they were selling them. Or you go to a black, when I was shaving my head, you go to a black barbershop and they had Brother Man there. So it was just whatever these brothers were doing in the market, they acknowledged that there's a bunch of black people out there that are not going into kind of mainstream comic book stores, that are not going into all these other venues where the Jet magazines are or where where black people go. That if you stuck a black comic there, that you have us all.
It wasn't superhero-y. It was just tales of the city that happened to involve a guy in a costume. It was, that's what an independent book should be. It was their voice, and it didn't fit into any formula, but it was very pleasing. And even the shape of the book kept changing. It was all kind of square cut, weird sizes. I loved all that. I thought they painted covers. They just did their own thing, and that's fantastic.
Brotherman was one of the few comic book, like independent comic books that there was a high quality of in the stories. It was very well written. The artwork is superb. Everything worked. Everything worked.
I loved Brother Man because, first of all, the art style. It had that Mort Drucker, Jack Davis style that I knew from Mad Magazine, but I hadn't really seen it in that superhero context. I'd only seen it in Mad Magazine. And I love that Bigfoot, kind of real funky, hip style. So it was just a beautiful looking comic book.
I see, we're also from Jersey, so we understood the urban Jersey aesthetics that the Sims brothers brought to the table there. I mean, they really represented Newark in a lot of powerful ways. Even though they're from East Orange, they really brought a lot of Newark into that. And that aesthetic sensibility was inspiring for my cousin and I.
To hold that comic book in my hand, it was like hip hop on paper. It was like somebody had taken a hip hop song and somehow put it in the pages of a comic book. And that was just mind-blowing to me. And so for me to pick up this comic book that was pure hip-hop with high production values, a comic book that I could put next to my Marvel comic or my DC comic, and the production values was just as good, the writing was just as good, the character development was just as good, but it was pure hip-hop.
In these books, you actually can read the whole book. I mean, just the way, even black and white, I was never drawn to black and white. But those books I could read in black and white. I said, there's something about these particular books that I can go from cover to cover and enjoy all of them. So of course I have the series 3, 4, 5 times.
It was in black and white, and I didn't even read black and white comic books. I was like, I'm reading the comic book because I want to see images in color. But it was so good that I even read it in black and white.
They told stories from their perspective, and reading the stories, there were characters that you could relate to, because it's like, there was someone in there that you're like, hey, I know somebody like that. And that's those are always the best stories. When you find someone, whether it's, the main characters or whether there are characters involved in the story, throughout, but, something that you can relate to, that alone will keep you going back.
I like Brother Man. It showed how he coped with, all the different characters and the people in that urban world where this brother realized, okay, I need to take charge of this thing. It's not going to happen by itself.
And then you look at the thing and it's just like, same kind of dynamic in the sense that Brother Man was dealing with the inner city issues that Steele was dealing with, but in a sense, you didn't expect that much more from Brother Man. Brother Man really didn't have any superpowers. He was just a brother who got pissed off with the difficulties of African Americans and poverty and wanted to do something about it, so that he stayed in the hood was fine. The Steele didn't kind of bother me, because I'm just like, brother, you could fly someplace else. I mean, like, Brother Man would have to walk there or take a bus. So it's like, I have very little sympathy there. But the degrees, I mean, I actually, because he was so real, Brother Man was just a strong brother. That he was actually able to confront as much as he did was, I thought, a reflection of his intelligence, which kind of got me more into the storyline.
Now, I remember, Brother Man, for whatever reason, I remember the arch villain was Block, which stood for Boundless Logic of the original Concrete King. And I don't know why I remember that, truthfully. But it was, I think I remembered it stuck in my head because it sounded like something from, graffiti, from the graffiti days. The Concrete King or whatever. It struck me as something that would be appropriate to that. But the only thing I remember about Brother Man was it being kind of sophisticated and humorous and ironic in particular ways.
Brother Man, when I started reading it, which was volume number 1, it was just so, well, I know this is hackneyed, right? But it was so real, but not real. It was literally, this is all the stuff, when black people get together and they get a little too much to drink, but they're kind of educated and they start laying into, well, what we need to do is, and if they would just listen downtown about, so that's what Brother Man felt like to me. It was that conversation, the cards are done, you've eaten all the chicken, the music's still on, don't nobody want to go home.
Right. Well, and actually, I didn't stumble upon Brotherman in I guess probably the last 4 or 5 years, just going through the black comic conventions. And he was the comic with Brother Dawood Anyabwile has been doing his thing, I guess, since the '80s. But since I grew up in an area that wasn't heavily, African American, it's just more of a, I guess a suburban white area. My comic book shop didn't have Brotherman, so I missed out on that. So, now that I've actually had the chance to be exposed to it and, see what it's all about, I regret not having that because it would put me in a different place than I am now. But I've had the chance to kind of build with Dawood on a personal level and kind of hang out with him and work with him down in Atlanta. It's a good brother, man. It's a good brother, and he's doing some
brother man.
Exactly, and he's doing some incredible work with a a dynamic team. So you'll be seeing a lot of things from him in the future. I'm excited about that. Big city.